Hello, I'm Graham Horton and welcome to the first of two videos of LED lights that have been sent by Viltrox to review for you. Now the first one we're going to look at is a small LED panel light. It's the Sprite 15C. If we have a look at that on the desktop, you can see it's supplied in this nice little cardboard case, and let's have a look at some of the specifications for the light before we unbox it. So if I just turn that over, we can see the specifications on the back. So we can see the claim power of this light is 15 watts, and I can validate that it was taking 15 watts on a USB-C power supply at 9 volts. Now a word about that power rating. If you're running this from the internal batteries, you're obviously going to get the full 15 watts, but you can power this unit directly from a USB PD power source. So you can use either the 9 volt or the 5 volt, and if you're using 9 volt you will get the full 15 watts. If you're using 5 volts you'll be limited to 10 watts, so your light output isn't quite the same as running on a 9 volt. So if you're using a non-PD device with a standard USB type A output, you'll only be running at something like 60% of the light output. You need to be using a PD delivery to enable you to get the full 15 watts from this unit. It's got a color range of 2800 to 6800 Kelvin. The maximum output is 1550 lux measured at half a meter, and I can validate that it was about 1600 lux at half a meter using my light meter. Range of brightness is from 0 to 100% fully adjustable, and in the hue sat mode you can actually go from 0 to 360 and select any of the colors on that spectrum. Color rendering index is said to be greater than 95 with a TLCI of greater than 95. Here's that specification for Type C, 5 volt or 9 volt, and the size of this unit is 297 by 139 by 64 millimeters, and it weighs about 590 grams with the included battery. So let's unbox this and you can see exactly what this light looks like, and then we'll put it through its paces for some of the applications. So unboxing this unit, you can see the contents. We have the multi-language instruction sheet. It gives you all the specifications for use and the operation as a standalone unit, or with the optional RC11 commander, or by using the WeLight Pro app, which you can run on a tablet or smartphone. You also get included a cold tube mount, which allows you to mount this onto your camera and position this exactly right for your illumination. You get the USB-A to USB-C cable, so you can use this with your power bank. The included battery is the NPF 550. This one is supplied in the kit. It is a unit which you can actually charge from USB-A to USB-C, and has got an indicator on the back here which gives you the charge levels. You can see, if I just shield that, you can see that it's got full power at the moment, indicated by those 4 blue LED lights. So a useful unit, and in fact that you can charge it and don't need a separate charger. The actual light itself, if we look over this unit, we've got passive cooling, so it's not forced ventilated, so it's a quiet to operate unit. An OLED display to give you indications of the mode that you're in and actual power levels. The battery compartment, which takes our battery, which just clips into place like so. We've got a mode control push button, we've got a channel group change push button, and we've got a push to click and turn to adjust values for hue, saturation, brightness, etc. On the bottom of the unit you can see we've got our 1/4 threaded mounted hole, which is a brass insert, and that marries up nicely with the supplied cold tube mount, which would then screw into there, and you can attach this to your camera. You can see the input marked here. It's 5 volt 2 amps, so that gives you the 10 watts, and 9 volt 2 amps gives you your 15 watt rating for this lamp. On the front you can see we've got this nice frosted plastic cover which gives you a nice soft light, and again, passive cooling to allow this unit to run cool. It does run quite warm if you're running it at full power. You can see on screen now some temperature measurements I made, around about 45 to 48 degrees hot spots of the unit if you're using it at full power, but it's not that hot to touch that you would burn yourself. Turning this unit on, you can see we've got the OLED display, and it indicates the mode that you're in. So at the moment we're in color temperature mode, CCT. We've got the channel number and the group number, so we're in channel 1 group B. The battery status indicator, we've got the brightness, the color temperature, and the RG or red green tint if you want to change the tint of the light. So at the moment we're at 100% brightness, so by adjusting the dial you can see we can drop the illumination in 1% increment all the way down to 0. If you want to change the color temperature, a click of the mode button allows you to change the temperature from 6800 all the way down to 2800, and you can see the color change there for 2800, which is that nice bright yellow, and if we go all the way to 6800 we've got the colder light. If you wanted to adjust the tint, then one more press of the mode button and you can see we can change the magenta red axis of the illumination. So if you want to match existing lights you can use this to change the magenta or the green color. Using the mode button we can change the mode of the light, so one push will take us into HSL mode, so we can change the brightness. A click would allow us to change the hue, so we'll go from 0 to 360. So if we wanted the blue output at 240, if I dial in 240, we get the blue light, and obviously 120 would be green, so dial that down to 120, we got a nice green light, and obviously 0 or 360 is our red. So bring that down to 0 and we got our reds. If we wanted to change the white component, then we can use the L value to change the white component of the light. So at 100% we're at full saturation, and at 0 we're almost pure white light. One more press of the mode button takes us into the RGBW mode, so we can adjust the color to our heart's content. So if we adjust the red, we can adjust the green, we can adjust the blue, we can adjust the white, and we can change the overall tint. So we've got RGBW mode. One more press of the mode puts us into the color mode, and if you press the mode button you can see we can get the adjustment of intensity, and we can simulate Roscoe or the color filters. So if we press one more time, there's the Roscoe mode, and if we turn it we can see we've got Lee, and we can then change the color of the output of the light to match the Lee or Roscoe color swatches. One more press puts us into our scene mode, of which there are something like 23 different scene types. So again you can adjust the intensity of each of those modes. You can change the speed of operation of the modes from slow, normal or fast, and then you can change the scene within that operation. So we've got lightning, paparazzi, camera flash, a range of operations there that you might be able to use in your productions for background effects such as television flickering, candle flames, police and fire sirens, etc. So a range of scenes there, and back to the color temperature mode. In terms of light output, this is rated at 1500 lux. So what I do now is I'll set this light up at the distance that my camera is to me at the moment and turn off the studio lights. So the camera is about 1.5 meters away, so I'll set this up using the Koshio mount at 1.5 meters away, and we'll see what exposure we need to give you a decent light. So I've turned off all the studio lights now apart from that small background light. So my normal exposure using the Panasonic Lumix GH5 Mark II in the studio with all the lights on is 1/60th of a second f6.3 at ISO 400. To get the same sort of illumination, I've now had to use f2.8 at ISO 800, so roughly 3 1/3 stops reduction in light, just using this as a fill light. But you probably use this light a little bit closer, so what I'm going to do is bring the light a little bit closer and see what the effect will be. So I've now brought the light to within 1 meter of me. It's slightly off center and up at about 30 degrees. I managed to drop the ISO from 800 back to 400. So we're using now 1/60th f2.8 at ISO 400. So a reduction in 2 stops. So it's probably bright enough for your 2-camera interviews, you like a run and gun. So it would be bright enough in a totally dark situation to give you a reasonable exposure at that sort of level. In terms of additional remote controls for this device, you can purchase the optional RC11 Bluetooth wireless controller, and you can see that on the desk. It does give you limited functionality in as much that you can't change things like the color mode or things like that, but it does give you options of being able to turn the light on and off, adjust the intensity and adjust the color temperature. So if I wanted to adjust the intensity, if I make sure that the intensity is flashing here, I can now change the intensity by using the plus or minus key, and you can probably see the light output is increasing. If I want to go back down to 10%, I can change that back down to 10%. If I wanted to change the color temperature, again use the mode button until you see the Kelvin scale flashing, and now I can change the color temperature down to 2800. You can see the color temperature of the light is changing. If I wanted to go back to 5600, then obviously use a plus to change the color temperature back up to 5600 Kelvin. If you go into the HSL mode, you can change the power level, you can change the hue, and you can change the saturation. So again, by using the mode button to change the operation mode, so hue, if I wanted to go to 120, then if I just hold the button down to get to 120, then you can see I've got the green output. If I wanted the blue at 240, then I just need to press and hold the button until I get to 240. And again, if you press the mode button, it changes the amount of saturation, so you're adding in the white light to bring it down to 0. So that is the mode for HSL. One more press will take you into the RGBW mode, so you can change the color temperature and the RGBW component. One more press will put you into the scene modes, but that doesn't show you the actual component that you're operating. You need to refer to the guidebook there to know which scene mode you're in. You can change the power level, of course, you can change the speed of the operation, and you can actually change the scene type, so you can go from flickering flames to the other scenes using the app, using the remote controller. But it's not as good as using the app, which I'll demonstrate next. So if you wanted to control the light using a graphical user interface, then you can load that WeLight Pro app onto your smartphone or tablet. I've done that here with my iPad mini, and you can see the app is here on the desktop. Let's just click that, and that brings you into the mode. At the moment the light is turned off. I can turn it on by just pressing the red power button here on the top of the app, and you can see that brings on the light. You've got the color temperature, HSL, RGBW modes. You can select the coordinates from the color picker, the Rosco or Lee Gel or the FFX, the color picker, which allows you to use the camera of the device to select a color from either a pre-existing picture or from your studio scene. And then you've got the scene modes that you can set up yourself. So in color temperature mode, then obviously you can change the color temperature. And if I just change the color temperature from 5600 down to 2800, you will see that change on the LED light. So I just show you the LED light, and again I'll go down to 2800, back up to 5600, and again you've got the color temp between magenta and green if you wanted to apply a bias. Got presets on the app itself, so you got 3000, 4000, 5200, 5600, 6000 and 7000, but you could add your own scene if you want, and then you can control the intensity again using that slider. So let's go back to 55, 5600. There's a matrix of dots at the bottom which allows you to go back to the home screen. HSL, again you can use the color picker to set the intensity and the hue. So in the center you are 0 saturation, and if you go to the outside edge you're 100% saturation again. So I can use the color wheel to select any temperature and saturation that I want from this light. So again, if I wanted to go to green 100% saturation, we'll choose the outside edge of the app, and if I wanted to go to lower saturation, then I can move towards the inside edge of the app, and you can see that I can change the saturation, and we can change the hue just by dialing in the value around the wheel. So a useful device if you wanted to set colors accurately for your particular scene. And again, you can change the brightness through the app or the saturation again using the slider. To return to the home screen, again we just press those 9 dots. RGBWY, again you can change the red, green, blue, white and yellow component to get whatever color temperature you want. The XY coordinates, again you've got the matrix here, so you can actually set whichever color you want in the gamut within the spectrum. Useful one is the color chip, and if you select Rosco or Lee, so if you want the Lee color filters or the Rosco ones, if you turn them on by just turning that device off there, the little slider, turn that off, it allows you to select any of the Rosco light or Lee color filters from the chip on the screen. So I can set whichever Lee or Rosco light color that I want. FX, it gives you a graphical illustration of the effect. So we got the thunderstorm, burst, flash lamp, blinking, a welding torch, SOS, candle light, and again you can adjust the speed from fast to slow or normal in the middle, and again you can adjust the intensity of the light. So with the candle flame, if I just reduce the intensity, I can change the flickering from fast to slow using the slider in the app. The color picker mode allows you to use the camera of your smartphone or tablet to set the color of the light. It's a bit difficult to demonstrate it because of the differences in intensity, but if I go for the color picker, then when I target an area, you can see the light is changing. So on the white or grey background there, you can see the color of light here on my tablet cover. If I now come over that blue, you can see that it changes the output of the blue to match the color. If I try to pick up, say, this red, you see it's changing the output light to match the light that it's seeing. So a useful device if you want to try and match a colour scene, colour temperature using the camera of the app. So that's the Viltrox Sprite 15C LED fill light. I like it because of this nice soft diffusion on the front. You don't have to mess around with clipping on diffusion. You don't get those micro shadows that you sometimes get with these panels where the LED spacing is quite large and you get micro shadows if you're using it close up. So this is an ideal light. The fact you can use the NPF batteries or the USB-C power delivery to give you extended run times rather than relying on your battery. You can of course fit larger battery if you wanted longer run times. The run time will obviously depend on the mode you've got it in, but something like 2.5 hours from a NPF 550 would be the average duration you will get from the light. So that's it for this review. I look forward to bringing you the second review of a new light from Viltrox in the not too distant future. So until then, thanks again for watching. Please do take care, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Goodbye for now.